We begin with what we have on hand, because that's how we do it with improv cooking. I got a few mushrooms sliced. I got some leftover red onion. I've had this refrigerated pie crust waiting for some kind of pie, which I had never made, so it's going to become quiche. For my quiche, you're not going to use milk or dairy. I am going to use salsa. So I've got my eggs. I don't know how many I need yet. We're going to see. I've got some olive oil to saute those onions and mushrooms before I put them in the egg mixture. This is a beautiful homemade salsa verde from my next door neighbor. Salsa verde is tomatillos. So tomatillos are roasted, and then with peppers and onions you make a salsa. If you don't have salsa like that, use salsa like this, whatever you've got on hand. Get your pan warmed and ready. Come on over to the pan. Olive oil. Just enough to cover the bottom. We want to take off the rawness of those mushrooms. So I'm going to just grab these mushrooms up, toss those in the pan. I don't want too much onion. I'm going to break those up with my spatula once I've got them cooking. Don't want that big of a piece in my quiche. And then for my onions, yeah, they'll get milder as they fry a little. So give that a couple minutes on a medium flame. Just breaking up those onions for smaller pieces for my quiche. My Sassy salsa. So these have been on for a couple minutes. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of ground cumin while it's in the pan. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat already. And then you can just let these sit there while you get your eggs together. Before I start with my eggs in the glass measure, I'm actually going to unroll this pie crust, and then I'm going to put it into a pan and pre-bake it. I like my crust extra crisp, so I'm going to do that before I put the eggs in. Using metal is what's going to help you get your quiche crust crisp. So you could roll out your pie crust and do a rectangle if you wanted thinner egg portion and more and get more servings out of it, so you don't actually have to keep your crust round. In this case, I'm going to show you what you do with a refrigerated pie crust. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Use your hands, push down at the edges, and then go ahead and trim off the sides using a knife. So that's a quick, I'll go around, and then we will get this with a couple fork pricks on the bottom of the crust and put it in the oven at 375 for about 10 minutes. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's how I'm going to do it. In the oven for 10. Now I'm ready to get those eggs together. So I'm going to start with 8 eggs and a half cup of salsa. So in my eggs, I'm not going to add any salt, and that's because feta cheese has plenty of it. There's 310 milligrams in a 1 ounce cube of that stuff. So between the salt in the feta and what might be in that salsa verde, I am not going to salt. I'm just going to crumble. I'm going to whip the eggs with the fork. And then I'll add the feta crumbles and the beautiful cumin spiced mushroom and onion. So I'm calling this a quiche, but in true culinary terms, this is not a quiche, because the quiche is milk and eggs. I'm not using milk. I've got some feta cheese in here, and my liquid is going to be this green salsa verde. So I don't want to do too much, otherwise my blend will not hold together. So I'm going to start with about 1/4 cup of this green salsa verde. 1/4 cup is 4 tablespoons. I'm going to get this stuff in and then check my consistency. So we've got the eggs together. We're checking on this crust at 10 minutes. So this is my pre-baked crust. I'm going to leave it right here, and then I'm going to bring my egg mixture over. Come take a look closer. So in the end, what I've got is 700 milliliters of egg mixture, and that's about 2.5 cups. I'm going to give it one more quick stir with my ork. Make sure I get all the good stuff out of that cup just in case I can't fit it all. And look at that. 2.5 cups kind of fills that pie crust. I'm so surprised. Awesome. Let's get that in the oven for 30 minutes. We'll check it at 30. It could take 30. It could take 50. All right, cookies, this is our quiche at minute 30. So you can test it with a toothpick. You can also test it with a fork. I just put my spatula in there and I can see that it is well set. So we were able to make a quiche without milk or cream using what we had on hand, and what I had was salsa. So salsa was my liquid to make this quiche a quiche and not just a frittata. Got a nice golden brown crust. You use what you have in your house. That's what improv cooking is all about. So you go make it. This is our quiche, Sassy Salsa Quiche with a homemade salsa verde after 30 minutes in the oven at 375 and 10 minutes cooling, so it's firmed up nicely. And this is important, we didn't use cream, we used salsa instead, and it's still nice and firm. It holds together as a quiche, so we had enough protein to make it. And now it's your turn. This is my quiche at 25 minutes. I'm not quite ready to take it out, but you can see it's puffy more on one side than the other. I'm gonna rotate it. This is a placeholder intro. I want to do this. I am the Improv Cook. This morning I am making a sassy salsa quiche. And so what we are going to do, we're in our house always making something, and I'm going to show you how to make sassy salsa quiche.